Welcome back, everybody. I wanted to make a side note. Everyone who listened to Dear David, if you didn't notice this, please go back and watch it, because I know you all want to watch those videos again. I was making our social media posts, and I rewatched one of the videos, and it's where the cat jumps over it just looks like it jumps over nothing. But then if you look at the table, a glass on the table slides a little bit across the table, and both cats react to it. They both look up and notice it. You watched that with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that was never noted in any of in his feed. And so
Maybe he didn't notice it.
Yeah,
people had seen it commented, though.
Yeah, and so maybe either someone edited it themselves, but the cat, like I said, the cats did react to it, so there's that. And remember, there was that one post that he said, and look at this, and it didn't say anything. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that, but other than that that was already over an hour episode, so I just wanted to add to it a little bit more. So what do you have for us today?
We're talking about Will Ferrell. Not really. We're talking about feral people.
Oh.
Yeah, and that'd be cool though. If you could find a story involving Will Ferrell and like the paranormal, I would love it.
Yeah.
Our cat is purring into the microphone.
That was fantastic.
Thanks, Lola.
That was a very soothing sound.
Yeah, that was. I would listen to our cat purr into a microphone for a long time.
There's our ticket moneymaker right there.
Yeah,
thanks,
our cat
Lola.
purrs. She's excited about the episode. Okay,
yes.
We're talking about feral people. Can you guess what?
I don't know
what feral people are.
I don't know what feral people are.
Pretty much think of just wild people.
Okay.
There's feral cats and stuff. So there's
homeless people?
No. So there's quite a few stories of feral people.
Okay.
And I'm going to cover just two of them. And we're going to talk about where can we find feral people?
I'm
what
so
are
intrigued.
they? What do you do when you find them? And just different stories. So you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just so intrigued.
Okay. So there have been several discoveries of feral people over the years, and it says one of the most famous, and I'm going to butcher these names, Dinah Sanichar.
Just say it with confidence.
I'm not at all confident about
Dinah
the name.
Sanichar.
Yeah, so they...
that was one person, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Their life inspired the writing of the Jungle Book.
Oh!
So, yeah. So,
That's cool.
like I said, the name Dinah Sanichar was born in 1860. He was a feral boy. He was discovered by a group of hunters, and he was living among wolves in a cave in, just for laughs, you can laugh at how I pronounce this, Bulandeshwar, Uttar Pradesh, India.
Crushed it.
Yep, so completely right.
That's it.
I mean, I do have the internet, and I could look up pronunciations.
We'd still fail.
Butcher it. So he was discovered in 1867. So he's about 7 years old, 7 years old, they said.
Wait, is Dinah discovering the feral person, or is Dinah the feral person?
They're the feral person.
Okay.
He was discovered by a group of hunters.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, living in a cave with wolves. So he was taken to an orphanage where he was given the name Sanichar because he didn't have a name, and it apparently means Saturday. When he arrived at the orphanage, he reportedly walked on all fours and ate raw meat. While he could not speak, he would make sounds similar to a wolf. He went on to live among humans for over 20 years, but never learned to speak and remained seriously impaired his entire life.
Wow.
He also was a heavy smoker and died of tuberculosis in 1895.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's pictures of him too, which is kind of interesting. Even as an adult, he looks like he's still kind of wild.
So he stayed in civilization after he was found.
Yep, he didn't learn to speak, which, they
That's
talk
crazy.
about, when you're young, when your brain's the most elastic, learning to speak and stuff and learn language, it's easier when you're young.
I suppose.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of other cases about feral people living in the wild. It says some date back hundreds of years, and then a lot of them can be folklore, where you just say, there's people living in the woods.
Oh.
But then there's a lot of true ones, too. There was a feral child discovered in 1994 outside of a Ukraine village. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that one.
That's all right.
The girl was found living among a pack of wild dogs. So dogs and wolves have been accepting of feral people so far, so that's kind of cool.
That is cool.
The local authorities had to use food to distract the dog pack so they could lure the girl away. And that's all I could find on her. Yeah. So this one was a girl living with dogs. So you're probably asking, where do I find feral people today?
I sure am.
There's a lot. So there's always like rumors and stuff about national parks, and I'm going to get into that one most of the time. We're going to talk about national parks.
Okay.
But other wilderness areas, and then the Smoky Mountains comes up a lot for finding feral people. It says it's one of the most like popular places where there's many conspiracy theories where people believe there's feral people, including like different times where they say the military was looking for someone and they're like, oh, you're looking for, and there's theories that they're out trying to find feral people because you know how the government covers a lot of stuff up.
Why do they care?
I don't know.
Let them live their happy lives.
Because they don't pay taxes. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, there it is. That's it.
So there's one of the
what
cases.
What a life to live. Sorry.
I don't know. No taxes.
Yeah.
I'm going to hear the 1969 case of Dennis Martin, a 6-year-old boy who disappeared while visiting the Smoky Mountains.
I know you said 6, but I heard 60-year-old at first that went missing, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, sorry.
Yeah, so when I was taking my notes and they wrote Minnie hear this, it must be like a localized thing because I've never heard of Dennis Martin. But anyway, he's 6 years old. He disappeared while visiting the Smoky Mountains. It says he and his bright red shirt vanished and were never seen again. So there's a conspiracy theory that a group of wild men snatched him. Why? They don't have much like evidence that I could find. But
but I suppose
think they took him.
Actual feral people could
take someone and hide
somebody,
them.
yeah.
Yeah, because
make them feral as well.
Because if people, well, they might not make them feral. They might do something else.
Oh.
Yeah, it says...
Way to make that dark.
I know. Well, we'll get to it in a minute. But the thing is, like, he has this bright red shirt. If an animal ate him, they're going to find his clothing.
Oh, true.
Yeah. Unless, I don't know, it was long enough and something ate, like, decomposed the shirt, too. Mm-hmm. But anyway, they believe that this pack of wild men living in the Smoky Mountains develop their own language and have a unique stench. A couple things mention their stench, but I couldn't find what the stench is. It just says they smell.
Yeah, I can only imagine. No thanks.
So they are believed to be cannibals. So that could be what happened to Dennis Martin. That'd be sad. It says, but they'll also settle for livestock when needed. So they're raiding the farms. So the National Park Service has an entire section of its website for cold cases, including missing persons. There are unsolved cases with no active leads where people have mysteriously disappeared, and a lot of people think they could be feral people, animals.
Well, it's terrifying.
Falling down, like,
so what you're saying is now I have to be terrified of just some other being out in the woods if we ever go hiking. Mm-hmm. Like, not only cougars and bears and, oh my, I gotta look out for feral
lions,
people.
tigers, and bears?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not worried about tigers in these parts of the woods. Or lions, I suppose, but mountain lions.
So, it says you'll find missing person reports, just for national parks all over the country. Many national parks are in remote areas, which makes sense. That's what you want to visit, like these wilderness areas. Mm-hmm. Their landscapes can be incredibly unforgiving, which makes sense. People can fall and be trapped, but then there's usually signs of them. So that's the thing with feral people. There's not always signs of where these people went. In late January and early February of 2021, videos and theories about feral people in national parks and wilderness areas started exploding on the short... Well, everybody knows what TikTok is. I don't have to explain that. It's a short-form video platform. It's unclear exactly where it all began, except on January 25th, a user named Ariel posted a video about a strange experience she had in the Big Bend area. In her video, she claimed she was camping with her husband and daughter in Big Bend National Park. Later, on their 5th day, they stayed the night at the lodge in the basin and hung out on the patio. At one point, they heard multiple people screaming off in the distance. Then a woman screamed, "We're gonna die." Ariel claimed the blood-curdling screaming went on. Finally, she heard a woman's voice saying, "I love you, just know that." So that's
Is
creepy.
anyone calling the cops as they hear these blood-curdling screams and saying we're gonna die?
I don't know, she heard a child scream "mommy" and other voices saying "help" and "call a ranger." She said that immediately after she called the police
Oh, okay.
and a park ranger, but they found nothing. She explained that they asked about the family the next day, but none of the park employees or park rangers knew what she was talking about. So so it's very weird. What's going on? They could have been attacked by animals, but it's just like a weird unfolding situation, like a standoff type deal. It's weird.
Yeah.
So there's also, and I want to start watching this. It's on Hulu in a book. It's called Missing 411. I actually had a coworker tell me about this week, even before I started looking at all this. Like, I decided I was looking up feral people. Didn't mention this to her, and she goes, "Hey, you should look up Missing 411. It's something I've been watching." I'm like, "Oh, that's what a coincidence." So it's a book and a Hulu documentary series by retired police officer David Paulides. He chronicles hundreds of eerily similar yet unrelated cases of missing individuals in national parks and wilderness areas. So definitely going to dive into these. So then the next thing, so there's all these stories, and I could go into detail of some of them. I'm going to do more like that I want to bring to the podcast in a later episode. I'm just trying to expose you to the idea of feral people, and then we can do our own research and find more stories on them.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
But the next thing, what do you do if you encounter a feral person? What would you do?
Run. Well, you know how you flight or fight, but I freeze. So I'm kind of nervous that I would accidentally freeze and die.
Okay.
But I'd like to run.
I would do what you would do with like a wild animal. You back away. Like you stay facing them and you back away and you just keep backing away. I'd also grab a weapon.
And then act big and go, "Ah!" Like that mountain lion video of that guy who got too close. I mean, it wasn't his fault. He just walked.
I kept following him.
He walked into the cubs and he's like, "And the mom's around here somewhere."
So the experts, because apparently there's feral people experts.
Yeah, makes sense.
So keep your distance if you encounter a feral person. It says they are believed to be as wild as any wild animal. And it says you don't want to approach them, which I wouldn't want to anyway. Unless I thought, hey, there's a lost child. Like, I think I'd want to approach them.
Yeah.
And it says they can behave unpredictably and cause serious harm, even death. You don't want your names to be the latest person added to this list of all these disappearances.
No thanks.
Yeah. So that's my introduction to feral people. Like I said, I'm going to look into like specific stories. This piqued my interest, and I'm like, ooh. So I'm going to add this to stories I'm going to look up.
So we'll do a follow-up episode down the road that says feral people encounters or feral people. We could do like a whole episode for you guys that's like feral people stories.
Well, part of it was there's so many different stories. I kind of didn't know which one to start with.
Yeah.
So I just want to do an overview.
Well, I find it very interesting too that like all of these missing persons, like I never would have thought that of this as an option of why they're missing.
Mm-hmm. Me either. I thought, like wild animals or getting lost, starving, dehydration.
You know, the more typical things you would think of first.
I don't know why, but I thought you were going to say the fun things.
All the fun things that could happen to these people first.
Yeah, so that's it.
Is that your coverage?
Yeah, I want to know about visiting these places that we can get attacked or lost or stolen, kidnapped, or...
Well, everyone's going to... This is a lot shorter of an episode, guys. I do apologize for that. Because I was more specific this time. I decided I thought it would be fun here and there to only cover, like, a festival in the area. Because we might come back to some of these areas for different stories. So when I was looking into it, because I'm like, the Smoky Mountains... That ranges through 2 states? 3? Ranges through several.
Research.
It goes through several states. So every week, obviously, like we try to give each other a specific area to research what to do. But because feral people are, I didn't actually know what we were talking about. So Alan just said, do the Smoky Mountains. So I'm like, okay, obviously go hiking or camping and bring your camcorder. If those...
Your camcorder.
Sorry for the Gen Zers who don't know what a camcorder is.
I mean, when I was...
I know what one is.
They just
I've used one.
I remember when I was a little kid and they were like the size of, I don't know, a laptop, and then you'd have to have it on your shoulder and barely see.
My parents had we used it up until like middle school or high school because he loved it. We had the tripod with the huge ass camcorder that you put the little disc in. But
Ours had like a tape.
Or tape.
And they would have smaller
Yeah,
tape.
tape.
And then it was another even smaller one.
And you can put the small tape in a VHS
Yeah,
and
I
then
remember
watch
that
your
one.
Christmas movies. Oh, good old days. They've now converted all of those into DVDs. So,
Your parents did?
Yeah, they
I thought you meant like in general.
No.
I'm pretty sure it's not on DVDs anymore. They're just straight on like
Yeah, at this point, no one uses
cloud
DVDs
and-
anymore. Yeah.
whatever else.
So bring those if you own one. Otherwise, your phone will do, I suppose. And go looking for feral people. Just kidding. Don't do that because it sounds terrifying. So other than hiking and camping, because you should do that around around these mountain ranges. I think there's some waterfalls in there too. I chose an event. It is coming up. I do not have a date yet because it changes every year, and I thought this was really cool. So you would have to find yourself near Gatlinburg, Tennessee. So it's the Elkmont campground in Tennessee, and near Gatlinburg, and there is a firefly viewing. So they showed some pictures, and it's just like at a certain point in the year when they're mating and everything, there are just a plethora, like so many that it's just a beautiful thing. Like it's not us going into our backyard and seeing a firefly and being like, "Ooh, pretty." It's a lot.
Just
like
tons and tons.
It's so popular that they do a firefly lottery. So they don't have the dates out yet this year. When I was on the website, they still had the dates out for last year. So you have to enter to be eligible to even get these tickets, and you have to pay $1. Now, if you get chosen, then you will be charged on that same card for $24 for your parking pass for that day, and you're allowed to have 7 people in the car maximum. Like, you can't even I find this odd. Like, you can't just even go explore the park.
You can't leave your car?
Well, no, you still walk in and everything, but for parking in the park. But my thought is, I still feel like you can go to the park and see this from like maybe just a little bit different of an area, but they do it for 8 days, and they get 100 people per day. So only 800 people get to go to this experience, but I feel like you could walk around and find it still. It might sound lame to some of you, but I think it would be beautiful because it's just the amount of fireflies there are. It's just a mesmerizing sight to see.
That'd be pretty cool. Well, they probably don't want people messing with them while they're mating and stuff.
Yeah.
Which I mean, they're lighting up to attract a mate.
Mm-hmm. And so I won't go into deep detail about it, but because they were talking about like why they're there and why there's so many and things like that. But just so you are aware, the viewing is usually May or June. It always depends on the weather. So throughout the year, like they have to look into this throughout the year. How's the weather been? How's the temperature? All of everything that goes into that to predict when they think that week-long time is going to be. And then if it's downpouring, they're not going to be out.
That'd be terrible.
So if on your, I don't know what happens on your day if it downpours, but if it's just misting, they said they'd still come out. But yeah, around May and June is when you can see them. The lottery typically opens, I thought it was February or March, so we'll see if it opens up. But if you guys find yourself near Gatlinburg, Tennessee, May, June-ish, you should definitely look into that. Not if you find yourself there. If you know you're going there, check the website for the lottery so that you can go. But yeah, I thought that would be really pretty. Like, that's something I'd love to go do if we found ourselves there. I don't know how close your brother lives to Gatlinburg, Tennessee. I'm sure it's the opposite end with our luck. So, but yeah,
it might be. I think it's opposite side of the state.
Probably. But I know what we would like to do. Anytime we go anywhere, we like to hike and see the waterfall. So that's something else you can do as well. And I did not go into detail on where all the waterfalls are, but the Smoky Mountains have a lot to offer.
Did you find what kind of animals they have?
No, I didn't go into any
They
of that.
for sure have fireflies.
They have fireflies. There you go. I'm sure.
And whatever eats fireflies.
Right? No, I'm sure they have a lot. So yeah, I thought it would be fun to just cover an event instead of several different things you could do, because you can bike through there too. But I'm like, maybe next time, like we're in a different town, we could say, oh, if you're here during this month, they have these events going on. So, have anything to add for us today?
No.
No.
Not a thing.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. If you can, please go like, comment, subscribe to any of our socials at Creepy Travels. We appreciate the support, and we'll talk to y'all next week.